Where's expeditions? Making moves. Impacts. Assets, equipment, vehicles, oracles. Come on, where's the expedition stuff? Choose your truce, create character, starting a sector. Begin your adventure. Next steps. Exploring space. Well, exploration moves. Let's see what this says. We're on a journey. Explore a waypoint. When you divert from an expedition to examine a notable location, we can explore this area that we're in. We have the choice to explore it. Reach a waypoint, envision the location, mark progress. So we can explore a waypoint. We're at a waypoint. It's a ledge. So let's just, I don't think we need to mark that unless we're going to explore it. And we roll plus wits, which is my strength. Let's explore it. So we're going to roll plus wits. We might make a discovery. Weak hit. So explore the area. You uncover something interesting but is bound up in a peril or reveals an ominous aspect of this place. Envision what you encounter, then take +1 momentum. You uncover something interesting. Let's see what that something interesting is. It's a ledge. I would say it's a cave beneath the ledge. I don't really have a... Let me see what this rolls. Location description, undesirable. It's an ominous cave. So let's mark this on the map. It's something that we could eventually come back to and investigate. But as it stands, we're going to leave it. We've got pressing matters. We're going to just call it undesirable cave. at ledge. I think we'll even turn this down even more. See what it looks like. Undesirable cave at ledge. That works. The journey to my save. The first waypoint. Let's see. Reyk arrived at a ledge upon his first waypoint. Below the ledge was an ominous cave in which he wanted no part of. Nor did he have the time. Matters pressed him to continue on his journey. Okay. We marked progress, right? Yep, we marked progress. Time for journey number 2, or waypoint number 2. That was, let's see. That was a weak hit, so we're still... Yep. Wits it is. A miss. This is new. You are waylaid by a perilous event. Pay the price. So we're on our way. What is the nature of this perilous event? Our handy dandy action and theme. 1467. Preserve destruction. Preserve destruction. It seems that those two things are at odds with each other. Preservation is the opposite, to an extent, of destruction. Preserve destruction. We cross the river and enter the woods. The coldness is still for about another week. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on the 8th day of Lanashan. The evening. Preserve destruction. Preserve destruction. I'm at a... This is a tough one. Preservation makes me think of druids. But those two things could be... Those two action and theme could be in opposition of each other. The woods have started to become corrupted around here. The nature of it is currently unknown. But things feel darker and malevolent. They feel unnatural. Reyk. Can't be helped but thinking about the horror, the undead he encountered that killed his daughter, and that feeling, that presence he has here feels unnatural, like when he looked at that undeathly creature. The woods feel that way. Now, does he encounter someone? The druids, I still think about the druids. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the druids are going to make themselves known at this point. Reyk entered the forest, and shortly thereafter, he could not deny the feeling that something was darker and more sinister about this forest. His thoughts went to the horror that slayed Tiva upon looking at the undead's flesh and feeling his unnatural presence. Something did not feel... He felt that the forest's eyes were upon him. I'm going to leave this open. I think the likely scenario is a perilous, you were late. No, we're not undertaking. Yeah, we're undertaking. You're waylaid. The event is perilous. So the druids have been watching him since he set foot on the forest. They're unsure of Reyk's intentions. The event is perilous, so therefore they surprise him and approach him, unbeknownst to him that they surprise him. making camp for the night, and then suddenly he is ensnared, as if the trees themselves, their roots, have taken root around his ankles. They reach up and grasp him and hold him fast. He's unable to move. And behind him he hears a voice. What brings you to these woods? Reyk cannot turn, cannot see behind him. He's held fast. He hears the slight rustle of leaves in the snow. The words move closer. I asked you a question. What brings you here? Reyk doesn't quite know how to answer. He feels trapped and pressured. There was a darkness, he says. Something has come to the south. Something I can't quite explain. The figure moves in closer, right behind, almost within arm's reach. He could feel him behind him. And what do you aim to do about this darkness? I need to find out more information. It has brought great harm to my life. And I worry that there is something more sinister about this threat. The figure still moves a little bit closer, and Reyk can feel his cold breath upon the back of his neck. I think he needs to roll a compel roll to see if the druid believes him or not. So we are doing a heart roll. He's being honest. He hasn't revealed all the information. So yeah, straight up heart roll. Let's do it. Come on, one time. A weak hit. I can't improve it. I got 7 momentum. Man. They'll do what you want or share what they know. Is that the right? Let me see if there was another. Yeah, it's still a compel. That's a compel roll. As above, but they ask something in return. If you use this exchange to gather information, make that move now and add +1. As above, but they ask something of you in return. I am aware of this darkness. What do you think you can do about it? Reyk hasn't thought that far ahead. It's like he explains that he's just trying to figure out what the nature of this darkness is. This is when he reveals that this darkness is possibly responsible for the death of my daughter. He explains, he rehashes the events and of the horror he saw. I believe you. And he starts to feel the roots around his waist and legs and ankles start to loosen their grip. And he's able to turn around and look upon the druid. He wears a dark wooden mask. It's obvious that he is also elven in nature. He's taller, longer. Somehow, he's almost looks like a tree himself in some aspect. His arms and fingers are branches in a figurative sense, not a literal sense. They're wiry. He wears some type of clothing that is fashioned of the brush, wooden leaves and all intertwined branches weaved around his body. The druid looks upon Rain and says, I know of this darkness, and the forest here has become corrupt. Me and my brothers and sisters seek to find its source. And if you are willing to aid us in this quest, then you are free to go. This is a natural moment for, he's gonna first ask, what do you know of my save, and if my save has any bearing on this. So he's going to gather information. He's going to get according to this, as above, he's going to get the +1. So we are going to gather information from the druid to see if this is definitely, there's no need to roll. The druid knows information. So we are going to roll charm, loyalty, or courage, or expertise, insight, or observation. This is definitely going to be wits. This is based on his knowledge of And the druid will even ask, what do you know of my save? How do you know, why would you speak that name if you are unaware of the events? And that's when he produces the arrows and the bow of my save craftsmanship, and he explains that the undead archer carried these, and I recognized the craftsmanship. So we're going to roll a wits. We're going to roll a +1. And we are going to freaking miss again. What the ever-living hell? Your investigation unearths a dire threat or an unwelcome truth that undermines your quest. Pay the price. What the ever-living hell? Can we get a break? One time? I think the situation is going to be worse than we thought. Now we could roll on this table, or we could pick something on it. He wasn't successful in gathering the information, but I think the information that the druid provides is going to be substantially worse than Reyk had anticipated. The undead, my save has been, my save, R is silent, I suppose. My save is, has been largely overrun, by undead. The nature is not known. However, it is hard for even the druids to approach with fear. They're not sure of the nature of it. They're not sure if it's a curse of some sort, some type of infection, or some other malevolent entity that's turning the population into undead, these horrors, these wraiths. But the tribe seems from their ability to gather information, the tribe is largely lost to this evil. And that is about all the information he can reveal regarding it. So the new foe is that, the new danger, a new foe, means that this has become a bit more of a difficult potentially a more difficult, I'm not going to up this to formidable, but further threats, further things along the way. As a matter of fact, the threat meter will go up on Avenge Tiva's death. But I think we have an opportunity here as well. I think we have an opportunity to fulfill a vow, or create, not fulfill a vow, but to commit in a vow of revelation to the druids, to this druid. If the vow is successful, if the vow roll is successful, then we'll roll up his name. and any other information that we may have on him. If not, then he has no other information, but Reyk explains that finding the source is imperative, and he vows, and he reveals, he takes his mask off and shows his face, and swears that he will aid in the druids in restoring the forest and uncovering the evils found within. The initial reaction of the druid is to scoff, but the vow is made nonetheless, and whether he accepts it or not, roll plus heart. Gosh, are we serious? Miss, you must face a significant obstacle before you can begin your quest. Envision what stands in your way, or ask the oracle and choose one. You press on, suffer -2 momentum, and do what you must to overcome this obstacle. The vow's still forged. I will take this -2. But something else stands in our way. So let's get this vow created. Aid the druids. We'll just call it aid the druids. It's gonna be a vow. I was gonna make it dangerous, but I think we gotta make it formidable now. What's avenge Tiva's death is formidable as well. I mean, the nature of the story. I mean, these are things that happen, right? I forged a vow over Tiva's body, but we also have aid the druids. A lot of the storyline is going to be intertwined. But that's just the nature of things. If you fulfill 2 vows, you're able to fulfill 2 vows along the same path. User images orange. Okay, Reyk was waylaid by a druid while making camp. The druid demanded trapped by a druid making camp. Druid demanded to know Reyk's reasoning for being in the forest. Reyk explains the events of the past couple of weeks. The druid understood and believed Reyk. However, while revealing that The forest and my save has been, as the forest, and particularly my serve has been overrun by an unnatural force. The horrors have overtaken my serve, and the nature and the origin of this corruption is unknown. So commit those changes. The significant obstacle it's going to be another, is it another obstacle, or is it just because this obstacle got much harder? Maybe we just, the obstacle is that this has gone from a formidable to extreme. No, I think it's got to remain formidable. This is something that we don't want to have persist, but there could be an underlying darker thing here. So aiding the druids doesn't necessarily mean dispatching of the evil and restoring the forest into all its natural glory. I don't think the druids could expect that of Reyk, but information is something that he could provide. So I think aiding the druids is something, I think that's still along the path, but there's something along the way that makes, maybe the journey's just harder. It's already dangerous. We make the journey formidable. The journey has just become harder. That's the underlying threat. The journey was formidable. I'm sorry, the journey was just dangerous. But this new information, it's going to take a lot more care and more danger along the path, because the forest is more overrun than he could have ever imagined. He was expecting to go to my save and find information, talk to the tribe there, but now that this is overrun the forest and effectively it sounds like my save is lost, that's the increased threat. So there we have it. He has the vow, so we're going to have to let's come up with a name for our druid friend here. How about... Aerodwin. I don't think we need to know anything else about this druid right now. The nature of the druids means, he understands the nature of the druids. They're not sinister by any stretch of the imagination. If they were sinister, if they meant harm, or if he was corrupted himself, Rain was trapped. So there's no reason to believe that there's any malevolence behind Aerodwin's encounter or his nature. So we can just leave this at that. If we need to discover this down the road, so be it. But as it stands, that's all we really need to know right now. Where does he need to return anywhere? I think we can cross that bridge when we get there. The druids have their eyes on the woods. I think they'll find Reyk before Reyk needs to find them. And that's it. Let's move on. Let's do one more waypoint. We're already at 11:30. We can do another waypoint, or do we call it there? You know what? Let's call it right there. Let's put a pin in it right there. And that's it. Let's see. Do we have any progress to mark? Avenge Tiva's death. We found considerable information, and I think that event, we had to up this to formidable. That event is still going to mark one progress, just only at formidable though. It's a considerably longer trek now. Or more difficult trek, not necessarily longer. Did we... progress Tiva's... I think we found some valuable information. I think that warrants a milestone. It doesn't necessarily... It doesn't increase the aid the druids. As a matter of fact, we'll make that dangerous. These two things are now apparently... They're similar, but they're completely different. The outcomes are completely different, potentially. Avenging Tiva's death now seems to be a much different goal than just aiding the druids, based on all of this. So we're going to mark this as dangerous. We're going to mark this as formidable. And we are going to mark one milestone on avenging Tiva's death, based on this new information we found. Now, if we look at that, this very well can coincide. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more marks, whereas this is potentially, this is 5 milestones. So this would end before this, in theory and mechanic-wise. So I think that aligns fine. So all we know is that we're going to be continuing our journey to my serve. I'll get the pronunciation of these crazy words right eventually. But we're on, our path just got a lot harder. And that is another crazy turn of events. I want to see something here. I'm at 3 and 5. Or 3 and 4. We lost 2 momentum. So that's right. Everything's right on here. We got no new bonds. Had no combat. And no vows completed. We had absolutely no experience progress. We tried really hard to get that bond with Sayok. Fortunately, with the the Druids thing, we can. This could potentially lead to a bond with Erdwin. So that's a good step in the right direction, at least. But we did complete one thing. It wasn't a discovery though. The discovery seemed really hard to get. So we'll have to investigate that and see if that's supposed to be the case. It seems a lot harder to accomplish than any of these. Vows are difficult to accomplish, but vows are just progressing on these tracks. Same with combat. Combat should push up faster than bonds. Potentially could push up fast, but you can't just initiate a bond with just anybody. You have to start establishing, and we could even, like we did with, as a matter of fact, you know what, I'm going to leave that there. We could say that you can't initiate a bond until we fill a track. And unless you complete a bond, or unless you complete a vow for that person, you cannot create a vow with them unless your relationship meter's full. And we can be as liberal or as... Is that right? Erdwin, the Druids. No. And this is going to be a vow. It's not a vow, it's a relationship, but you know what I mean. We'll pop this under blue. And then we'll copy... we don't have to copy anything. Erden the Druid. We're going to mark this right now. We'll just mark everything as formidable for relationships. And we're going to give... He trusts Reyk. So we'll just mark that one tick right now. They had that initial encounter. He trusted him enough to remove the roots. So there's no reason that this... Actually, we'll just mark that at 2. I think it's still a huge path to fulfill. but the foundation is there, and I think that's a fair way to assess that. I guess that's kind of homebrewing it, but um, I think having progress tracks and relationships, they're not required for the bond roll, but if we have that be kind of a requirement, at least it lets us measure our relationship with someone, and we can look in it. We might not see Ironsworn for another month, real time. We can at least go in there and say, oh, he's got it. There's, they started something. We can look at that. And if he fulfills the vow, then if you fulfill a vow with anybody, you're able to make the bond roll, regardless of where that status is. I think that's a huge, cool thing. I'll fill out more of this stuff in between sessions. But, gosh, man, that was awesome again. That whole confrontation with Sayok was amazing. Just Sayok not being able to get over his past, to put the past aside to find more information on Tiva's killers. Tiva's mask breaking in their altercation. Reyk storming off. Sayok realizing what an ass he was. That allows Sayok to potentially still show up now. I don't think if that happens, Sayok just stays and chills in his cabin. But if we've got a twist, or if we got an opportunity in front of us, that we can rely on this, especially now that we know that the situation is far more dangerous than the initial thought was. This forest is a much more sinister and dark place. I'm almost envisioning like Game of Thrones, the North. It's almost like the Snow King. What the heck was his? Was it Snow King? Almost like his forces have amassed, and now not amassed, but they're growing in this area because it's snowy, cold, wintered, frozen land up here has now got a different presence about it. Anyhow, that is it. What another awesome freaking thing. This was just an awesome experience again. I am beside myself with how well this system plays. We're still stumbling through the mechanics a little bit. That's okay. We'll get better at this, but you can see where the storyline, how they're derived, that it's very fluid and very organic, and it leads to some incredible situations, and eventually we'll be able to focus more on the role play side of it and not as much the mechanics side of it, because the mechanics will become fluid. Either way, the story is amazing, and I good luck writing this stuff. They drop enough of a they drop these seeds that you don't know how they necessarily, like the preserve destruction, or preserve, preserve and destruction. Those things don't necessarily have they don't connect to each other. But as you saw here, the druids are the preservers and the undead are the destruction. There is a tie. So they don't have to necessarily mean just one thing. It's an accumulation. It's the how does this fit into the narrative? And Druids of the Forest and the whole progress and failing on those rolls just made the situation harder and more dire and more encompassing, and things are a lot more sinister than whatever he thought was going on has now taken a much darker turn with today's events that unfolded. So that's it. But I thank everybody for watching. Thank you if you're. I'll be cutting these up and putting them on YouTube. Give a like and subscribe. This is going to get better the more we progress as far as the interaction. And if you're checking it out on YouTube, we're doing this Tuesdays and Thursday mornings right now, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the best time for me to do it right now, but the videos you can watch anytime. So if you can join us, you can hear me talking to chat. I don't have chat displayed on here. I'm not sure quite how I want to do that yet. But you can hear me asking for chat's input, asking me to get some names generated, and they're giving input on what's going on. And I'm asking for suggestions, and you can hear me ask, is that fair? Does that seem fair? I want other people's input into this as well, not just mine. Otherwise it doesn't feel, I know how I'm playing the game, but for you, you can also, we can, the more and more we get comfortable doing this, the more and more it can be a community thing. I think Reyk's story right now is pretty incredible, and there's a lot to explore. And it's just 2 episodes of someone clunking their way through the mechanics of this. Imagine if we can get, to get this all streamlined and start flow. Like these 2 episodes, we probably could have done, if we were more fluid in the game, you'd probably do it in, an hour and a half, 2 hours. But man, this is cool. Thank you all. And without further ado, I think we'll call it a day. Thank you so much. And I will see you Tuesday. Bye-bye.